You boys look like a weird heavy metal band.
Yes, we are a band.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you play?
Symphonic, post-apocalyptic, reindeer-grinding, Christ-abusing, extreme war, pagan, Fennoscandic metal.
Right. Really interesting.
What up, everyone? DJ Noob is here with you in the Metal Time Radio podcast. Starting my brand new spotlight series on the tarantulas I have in my hobby. If you paid attention to my channel at all, I do have a hobby of collecting tarantulas. Probably been into it seriously for about the last 2 to 3 years. I did have a tarantula probably like a decade or so ago that I kept, and it lived for a little while, but I didn't have half the knowledge that I have now. And I'm going to get to some of the other YouTubers and tarantula hobbyists that I refer to when it comes to education on these species. And because as you get into the hobby, you just get into more and more exotic and more old world species where, with any kind of tarantula, you have to have like a sense of respect and, be safe about it, both for you and the spider. I don't handle mine like some people do, but I do have to occasionally shift them from one enclosure to another as they get older and bigger and stuff like that. So you still have to have your wits about you and pay attention to what you're doing and stuff like that. So my spotlight series is going to start here with what we call the Poecilotheria striata. I know I probably just butchered the shit out of that name. But it's also called the Mysore ornamental tree spider. And now maybe Dave from Dave's Little Beasties or somebody else who's been in the hobby for quite a while can confirm this for me. I was kind of looking around and basically I found that there's like 16 species of spider in this particular class of genus. Now they do have a nickname, which we call them pokies for short. Now there's out of the 16 that I saw listed, at least there's 4 that I see the most in the hobby, and they all come in a variety of different colors. But the color schemes with the stripes and stuff are kind of this. What would you say? The identification markings are almost similar, but they just have different colorations. So basically, the pokey is derived from a Greek poikilos, which spotted and therian or wild beast. They're native to India and Mysore. It is an old world species, and now people have asked me quite a bit what that means. And with New World tarantulas, they kick urticating hairs, and like at first you don't think it's a big deal, like it's just a defense mechanism these spiders have. However, as I found out through my Brazilian black, if you get that crap on your skin, the hairs, like it itches, and then if you scratch it, it spreads. So this is the key thing about New World that you do have to pay attention to. Like their venom is not as strong as the old worlds, but they will bite, of course. And they do, some of them are pretty big. They have pretty big fangs, but the hairs, like if you get them in your eyes, it's very, very serious. Like because it could really fuck up your eyesight. Like that's how bad it is. So I never would have thought that initially because I remember the old tarantula I had. Like I didn't really even know about that too much. I knew it kicked hairs. I just didn't realize that it was going to be that serious if I would have got it in my eyes. So I'm kind of glad that when I discovered Dave, who I go to, he's like my go-to when it comes to educational information and tarantula setup for enclosures. Like when I discovered him, he was very big influence on me in terms of getting back in the hobby and learning as much as I could about the spiders and how to like treat them and like the things to look out for. He like I'm going to show you a little clip of his later, but uh So yeah, this spider is an old world. It's a tree spider. So generally, when you're setting up your enclosure, you're going to have it like a tall one, not so much the wide or width. It's going to be tall. Usually have a piece of bark, like a tree almost for it to deal with. And I'm gonna play a little video while I'm talking here with you guys. You should be able to enjoy some of this. And so basically, this is the Striata here, the Mysore, and they're very fast. I have a small GV that was a little bit smaller than I have now. It's a very fast grower, so it's starting to grow. Already outgrow my little container here soon. So I'm gonna have to start make do and get a new enclosure for it. But as you can see, out of all these species, this one apparently is the one that's like the most tame or docile of the group. Um, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't hurt you if it bit you. Now, as I've stated before in other videos and talk with people, there's never been a recorded death from a tarantula bite. However, there are some caveats. First one is the bite can be very painful and it can make you very sick. So obviously, if you're bitten, if you're in a hobby or not, and you're bitten by an old world, get to the hospital, get checked out, make sure you're okay. Now, the other caveat that I would say is some people are allergic to bee stings and stuff, so I don't know like exactly how that transfers over to a tarantula bite that has old world venom. So if you're bitten, and even if it doesn't kill you, if you have an allergic reaction to it, this is why I tell Neko, like she's always like, even with the new world, she's like, I want to hold him. I'm like, yeah, but it kicks hairs, and then if it bites you, I have no idea how you're going to react to it, even if it's a new world. So you have to be careful, respect these creatures immensely, and this spider can get to about 7 inches. So, like I said, it can get pretty big, and it needs an arboreal habitat. So again, a vertical piece of bark. Its temperament is fast with strong venom. It is less aggressive, as I said, compared to the other ones in the same class. Its diet consists of basically crickets, mealworms, and roaches. Generally, when it's really young, I will start with like small mealworms that I either cut up or crush the heads and just lay it out for because they tend to find it easier that way. They don't mind if it's already dead for them. Crickets the same way. But as they get bigger, they want larger crickets and probably dubio roaches. I know some people will feed their spiders what are called red runner roaches, which is fine, except for the horror stories I hear about if they get out of the containment that you might have them in, like if you raise them yourself, could infect the house. So dubio roaches don't really work the same way. They're not really fast breeders in that sense, and they usually don't infect like the red runners. Now, granted, I've had a couple dubios get out, and I end up finding them later on. They're kind of heavy, so they make a lot of sound when they're crawling on the wall and shit. But yeah, you got to make sure you keep those things under tight lids. But yeah, this spider is amazing with its colorations and everything. And this looks kind of funny. I should have fixed this video, but this is the one he's transferring his big ass female, right? And like I can never do this. Like it's just crazy. But the spider's so well behaved. It doesn't even think about going anywhere except for that container. It's like he knows exactly how to handle the spider. I do apologize for the spread. The way I shot this video or created it didn't really work out the way I wanted to. But yeah, so that's really cool though. That spider is beautiful, and it's actually much larger than I thought they can get. So it's pretty impressive. But yeah, so that is on that for there. I will show you my own spider, but first I do want to show you the different species. This is what I get into at the beginning of the video. So the main ones that I see is the Metallica, the Regalis, the Ornata, and the Striata. The Regalis, if you recall, like a few months back, I actually had a spiderling Regalis, but unfortunately, the day after I got back from Repticon, it died. I can't really say why, but as Dave says, it's never a perfect thing. So it could have been anything. It could have been like the trip home. Could have been just a lot of going on. It's a baby, so it just didn't make it. I mean, it was quite small. So when I went to Repticon in January, I was specifically looking for a juvie or one that's kind of like out of that early stages. But I didn't find a Regalis. I did find a Striata. So I was like, okay, well, this is a good move. Just the same thing with the OBT. I want to make sure that whatever I'm dealing with is already kind of past the hiccup stage with the spiderlings. I've raised spiderlings before. It's always a 50-50 gamble. That's the only problem. I wasn't mad at the vendor when my Regalis died. It wasn't his fault. It just happens. So here is the Metallica. This is the most popular one right now in this particular group that the hobbyists really love, and it is a really, really fantastic looking spider. This is the Poke Metallica, and then this is the Regalis. This is the one I still want to get a lot. I do love, like, this person has no problem putting it on its arm, but you're the braver person than I am. But that's a beautiful freaking spider. Here's the Ornata with a different coloration, a little bit golden look in there. As Kevin would say, Kamunga. So we got a little bit of Kamunga action going there. And then this is the Striata, the one that I have, which has a little bit of all of the things involved. Yeah, a little bit of the gray, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of the golden in there. My Juvie doesn't show any of these colors quite yet, except for the gray and the black, but very beautiful. I gotta pull that picture up that I have. So 1 second. I should have loaded this up before I started, but here we go. So yeah, here's mine, and it was a little bit smaller than that when I got it only about a month ago. So she is growing. I always call them she's, just in hopes that that's what it is, but you can never tell until they mature out. But yeah. So okay, so here is my little video of also my Striata
Of course you don't.
with background noises.
The police didn't ask anything. And Crystal told me you're walking around the house with a mask on?
So yeah, she's actually kind of hunting here. So I did feed her today. She ate a couple crickets. So she's been pretty well fed. And then, like I said, she's starting to get bigger now. So I'm gonna have to start thinking about a new place to house her. So but it's one of those things where you kind of have to do it in steps. Like, I could get a bigger one, be her forever home, but then I'd probably lose her somewhere because it's too much space. So I definitely want to make sure that it's adequate to her size and not too large. Because I'm same with my OBT. Like, I'm really paranoid about the OBT because that one is, like I said, a very defensive spider. Even now, like, as small as it is, like, I can still see the fangs. Like, that's how crazy it is. Like, it's so crazy, but it's a beautiful spider. And actually, Nancy, that's my OBT, just molted this morning. So just gonna keep an eye on her, make sure she's okay. And now I didn't find a video from Dave on the Striata, so I don't know if he actually has one. I would think he would, but he has so many other species of this genus that you could go to his page. I'm gonna end up putting the links for Dave and Tarantula Collective in the description box and stuff like that, as well as the other information I just read to you regarding this particular species, so you guys can kind of look at it yourself if you want. But here is Dave rehousing his Metallica. This is a couple years ago. And now I think if I'm correct too, he recently moved, and he has so many spiders, but he was pulling them out of boxes, right? Because they're in their enclosures or those little traveling cases or whatever he's got them in. And somehow this Metallica got out of his thing and was inside the box. So Dave had to kind of hunt it down. It came out, ran. It's very fast. But he's fine. He managed to get it back in there. I mean, he has a little bit of trick to it, but yeah, it's a beautiful spider. And if you, one thing I love about Dave, and I can never do it myself because he has this knack for when he rehouses to make it look so beautiful and keeping plants alive and all this other stuff. And like, I just don't have that kind of luck. Now, part of it is I don't have a lot of light down here. I have a little bit, but finding the type of plant that will survive in low light, especially when there's no sunlight at all, which hopefully when Neko and I move a year from now, I'm gonna have my own room for the spiders that will have some natural sunlight. Even though spiders don't like a lot of sunlight, I want to be able to have a little bit for the plants and stuff. So I'll see how that goes. Um, But yeah, if you see here, he's getting ready to rehouse his Metallica from the old enclosure to the new one. I didn't do the whole video. I just wanted to show you what this spider looks like in real time. And Dave is so good with these spiders, so here's a little piece of that.
Now these can be quite nervous spiders, so we're not going to take any chances with this one today.
Amen.
What we're going to do is we're going to get her in a catch cup, we can have a nice look at her, and then we'll put her in her new enclosure. So we're just going to peel back the bark. She is absolutely stunning.
Now, see, it's funny because in the new enclosure, Dave has both the door open and the top. Now, I like these enclosures because, especially with the species that are a little bit more toxic or a little bit more risky to handle, like I have like my pink toe in one of these glass, or not glass, but plexiglass with the holes in the side, and it's fine because if I have to get her out, she's not like gonna hurt me. Like she's the most docile type species of spider you can have, like a pink toe. But if you're dealing with a spider that like the pokey or an OBT, like you really can't do that just because it's only one entrance. Like I don't like having just one entrance and I have to try to get them. Like it would be very risky for me and the spider. So whenever I deal with spiders like this, even with some of my old world, like just the bigger ones, I like having multiple ways to get in. But when I go to move my OBT or even my ornamental, I'm not going to have the lid open. I'm going to have the door open and I'm going to try to get them out. Unless I can finagle it to where, because you do have to kind of get your other hand in there if you're going to use your little brush or whatever to kind of, coax them out of their old habitat. The OBT is going to be such a nightmare. Just because I have her in like one of these more like plastic rectangle ones, and it's not very deep. So when I go to get her, I'm gonna have to kind of put the end in where she's at. But she's one of these spiders, man. Like if I open one end to give her water, she'll come to that end, even though she'll kind of go back and forth. She'll come to that end, and just because she doesn't know where to go, like I did rearrange her shit a little bit to where she has a little bit better hiding spot. So now she kind of just runs and hides, which is good. But once I go to like move her, she's going to be very irritated. So, and that's the thing, like they kind of rear up on you, which is interesting about spiders too. And this is credit to Dave. Generally, you would think that, when you try to coax them in, you're going to kind of just move their back leg and try to, let them scurry in, which most of the time works. Occasionally they'll turn around and then like, they're like, okay, you're messing with me. I'm going to bite you. So sometimes you have to kind of like get them from the front end just to kind of entice them to come out, but they never go the way you really want to. They're just, they have their own temperaments and they're all very unique to themselves. But yeah, generally I will not keep the top open just because if I can get away with getting them out and let them go into their bark hole or whatever without in case they try to run out, I don't want that to happen, especially with a tree spider, they tend to like run up. So yeah, let's do some more of this.
Absolutely stunning. Can we see that?
This is the Metallica. This is one of the most
she is in fact staying on the bark. So I'm wondering if we can get away with not using the catch cup, it would be nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to...
Oh,
you
so
see
pretty.
She's turned around. She can feel the actual bark and things moving. And she's looking for somewhere to hide.
Yeah, see, she's not very aggressive now. She can become aggressive, but, Dave is so careful with how he handles them that it doesn't really become a problem. They don't always like getting in the catch cup, but he's pretty good at getting them in there. But yeah, they would generally, most tarantulas would generally try to run and hide first. Like that's usually their first get go. I was kind of surprised when we got the skeleton leg the other couple months back that when I was, getting to go into its enclosure, it actually turned around on me. It's a new world species, but you don't want to be bitten by anything. So like I was kind of like, So I had to figure out another way to get her. So finally, she got in there, but like it's just one of those things where they're unpredictable. So you have to be careful. You have to treat them with respect and just be very careful about it.
And she's staying on the log side.
So yeah, I was just going to show you all that. That was just a little bit of the Metallica, which I don't have, but someday maybe I probably will. I think if I were getting more of this particular genus, I would probably go with either the Metallica or Regalis. I think having those two would be kind of cool. But there's so many great spiders out there, like different species. I mean, there's one I can't remember what exactly it is. I think Dave does have one. It's really got like this super purple sheen to it. But it's so gorgeous but it's so expensive, like on the market. Like at least if you get like an adult, it's like almost $2,000, I think, depending on where you go. But it's a very beautiful species. Anyway, as I said, I'll put the information of Dave and Tarantula Collective in the links to their channels on my description box, so you guys can check out because he has a lot of great content. Dave is very good at this, and I do appreciate all his hard work. He's been doing this for like over 30 years. So if you're ever getting into the hobby, this is the guy that I would highly recommend that you check out and just, get a glimpse of what he does. He has so many different species of spiders. He even has some centipedes and frogs. If you're into that kind of stuff, I don't know how many reptiles he has. I don't think he deals too much reptiles, but the frogs are kind of unique. So yeah, so that is my spotlight for my first spider that I'm going to show you. I don't know when I'll get my next one out. I may take a gander and do the OBT, but we'll see how I feel. I've got some other nice species. Each one is different. So this is my Poecilotheria that I have. And so I hope you all enjoyed. And I'll see you next time on the Metal Time Radio podcast. Peace.